Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Geoffrey along with Adam Ross here. In our home studios again, like pretty much every broadcast everybody has shown for the past month, we've been cooped up at home in our man caves. At least I am. Adam is in the living room today, it looks like. But we got
I
some good
don't. We
stuff
don't
coming,
have a
Adam.
man.
What's that?
We don't have a man cave. We're limited on space, so it is just one big family cave, which is why you
Christine,
never
was,
know what you're going to find.
Christine wasn't buying a house unless we had somewhere to kick me away to for hours on end. So thankfully, but this weekend in my man cave, I've got a steering wheel. So I got on the iRacing wagon, and man, it is like real racing in the way that it is frustrating. It's hasn't been rewarding yet. Um, man, the ups and downs of the weekend were great, highs and lows, but it's exciting. And I got to tell you, as I mentioned to you the other night, getting in a room with a lot of the Ashweekend guys and getting to actually race against, DJ Christie and his DJ Christie car was kind of cool when I got to pass him once before I got my ass kicked. But either way, it was still it was a great deal to be out there for me, and I'm excited. I went in the 6 o'clock practice session, rage quit. I wasn't having it, but anyways, we're getting there.
I heard you were. I heard you were having some struggles last night. I got messages from people saying, "Yeah, Clint's very
Well,
talkative."
yeah, I got to learn to shut up. I think the problem I had was there was something up with my wheel. I don't know. Anyways, it's a lot better today. I reset everything and seemed to be. I could keep it on the track today at least. But we had a good time out there. So if you're new to that, we race Friday night excitement every Friday night now until we go back to racing out, and that is the plan. So for now, for the next couple of weeks, we've got it set up that we're going to be racing on Fridays live, followed by a replay of a former Rush Weekend race. I'm working on getting the vintage stuff. I just got the converter today. So you know what the big problem is? Trying to find a VHS machine that I can convert these VHS tapes from. We've got all the digital end; it's the VHS end. But I'm excited. I told Spencer I'm pretty sure I got a lockdown on a 1999 feature night of racing from Osh Weekend Speedway, which is going to be amazing. Man, can you imagine how young we looked back then and sounded? Christine said it'd be great to hear it. I said, no, man, I'm going to cringe all night long. But 20 years ago, man.
I don't like watching or listening to myself now, let alone 20 years. I might enjoy 20 years ago more because my expectations would be different. I don't like my voice. I don't enjoy listening to stuff that I've done. I do it, it's done. Don't want to
Yeah,
experience it again.
I'm kind of the same way. I'm thinking something 20 years old might be palatable though, because it's not
Hmm.
like it was last week when we should have been better. It's 20 years ago when we knew we were young and green and announcing to 200 people in the grandstands. But once again, everybody, this is your show. We need you to contribute. We need you to throw up your questions, comments on both YouTube and Facebook. Do us a favor, give it a share. Adam's close to the new microphone setup. Almost
I
had it,
got it
but
all set up, and I've got something with my inputs and outputs, and my computer wasn't having it, so
you
I had to
should have just set it
change it
up and
up.
made it look good.
I
Nobody
thought
would have
about it,
even
and
known.
then be like, "Why is he wearing a stupid headset if he's got the other deal going?"
I
You
still got to
know,
wear my headset so I can hear you.
it
Um,
it's tough to bring up the energy, isn't it, when we're sitting at home?
I find that we talk over each other a lot. Even in the Friday night broadcast, it's tough. We got to figure out a system for walking on each other. And what's the etiquette? When I stomp on you, do I just keep going? Do you yield and give me the right of way? I don't know. We haven't figured it out yet, but
You're
being in the
100%.
same room
You're
makes it a lot
100%
easier.
right. Uh,
You know, we do have the
Spencer,
etiquette for.
are we live on Facebook? Okay, where at? Not on our shrieking. Right on. Just want to
I
know so
think
I can get my shares down.
I what was I going to say there? So we need your questions, comments. Let us know what you feel like. We've got some good short track discussion coming up. I threw a couple topics on for later in the show. Um, we'll give them to you now so you can start commenting on them. One was how much time will the race teams and facilities be given from the time we get the go-ahead? If we get the go-ahead Friday, will we be racing on the Saturday? Will it be a week or two? So that we wanna know your questions and comments. I know we have a lot of racers watching. In your opinion, how much time do you need to get going? That's one of the statement questions, as we've been calling it. What's it gonna take for you to get going? And if we're limited to 500 people, how do you see that going? So those are 2 things we want your questions and comments on tonight as we get through the show. We'll get back to those, Adam, but, back to Friday Night Excitement. It's been great, to have you and Greg calling the races. I'm super pleased, as I know you are, with the pure level of Oshweekend drivers who it has dragged out of the couch. Um, you and I have, for the past year, more you, than me, have been pulling drivers into the iRacing world and telling them how cool it is, and I think this new setup has gotten a lot of the Oshweekend drivers into the mix. I know Jordan Hill was out practicing. He'll be ready to go Friday. Steve Lyons just got his stuff together, as we touted a week ago. There's been a whole host of drivers getting their stuff together. I know Liam Martin is gearing up. Um, so this has been really cool, Adam. Your comments on that about getting the Oshweekend drivers into the simulation.
I think it's a couple of things, Clinton, if I'm being honest. One, I think people just have a mad desire to be competitive and to go racing and get out there and have some fun. Uh, but secondly, I really think there are racers who feel that they're here to put on a show. Um, Racing is an addiction. Racing is a ton of fun. But I think by and large, when reality set in that this is what we have to offer for the next month or two, I think people felt they owed their audience something. They got steering wheels brought in, they got rigs set up, and they're going racing, and the numbers rise week after week after week, and they're rising now. Um, with more and more recognizable names, more and more racers that we're used to seeing on a Friday night are logging in to join the fun.
Yeah, the list of drivers we've got going on. So we do have some cool, exciting plans coming up that we hope to announce in the next couple of days with regards to the Friday Night Excitement. So how far are we planning ahead? What we'll tell you is we're looking as far as I can pretty much say we can't do anything until at least May 21st when the government lifts. So that will be the earliest we could actually get to the outdoor racing at Oshweekend and the other tracks around it. I'm thinking here in Ontario. So for the foreseeable 2 to 4 weeks, we'll still be on Friday Night Excitement, bringing you a live show for you guys to be interactive with and watch some of the Oshweekend stars and the associates go at it in a couple of fun races too. And the paint schemes have been great. This week we saw Rick Scott with a big boy paint job. The pizza car of Jesse Costa was real popular on week number 1, and it's just been great to see the guys get excited and make some fun paint schemes.
You know what? And it's funny, when we sit down and plan things and you think, okay, this is going to work and we'll have some growing pains here. Did you ever think that most of the comments we would get on our Friday night program is on how much fun the street stock race is?
No, I think you're absolutely right. It's been awesome to see the response. I think when you throw cautions out the window and you just say go for it, um, there's no damage. It's the one. It's I think that's the fun iRacing race of them all, where guys just go, and if you get wrecked, you haven't put your whole night into it. You're just out there to have fun. But you know, we jump around on this. These are just guideline topics. But my buddy Anthony puts up a good question here or a good comment. I'll read it to you. Anthony Macri says, with the shutdown due to the virus, track owners should be ready to go when the green flag flies. What I mean by that is when the government allows us to race, this is their bread and butter. They should be ready to go. Okay, so I'll let you tackle that first, Adam, and then I'll talk about it.
Well, specifically, what do you want me to take from that?
Well, here's what I take from that. The problem is, Anthony, and we could debate this over lunch if we were allowed to go for lunch, but um, as you know, at Oshweekend, we can be ready. But for example, a lot of the businesses that we need to function aren't even able to get in there right now. So, you know, some of the prep work we're going to need to do may not be ready to go. Now, at Oshweekend, we will be ready. But then you also have to take consideration, what about these race teams who haven't had a paycheck in a month, some of them or more? Do they need to get 2 weeks to get ready? A lot of them are still waiting on parts to get ready. I don't think you can come out of the box and run a full point show on week number one and be the nice promoter around. Everybody's going to have your up against the wall and be up in arms on that. What are your thoughts on that, Adam?
You won't like my thoughts. I think there should
Go
be an
ahead.
asterisk. I think there should be an asterisk next to the year 2020 for the rest of racing history. I don't think we should crown any champions in 2020, except maybe the Canadian Sprint Car National Champion. I think we should focus on big races. I think we should throw points right out the window because people should come and race when they can race on a Friday night. A lot of our people, a lot of the people that thrive in motorsports are self employed. Um, when they do fairly well with their businesses. And this is a time when people might have to work on Friday nights. And you know what? We have to welcome that. Say, go make your money. We'll see you next Friday if you can make it out. I just think it's going to be an unusual kind of season where you welcome people when they can be there and you understand when people can't be there and you just kind of take a deep breath. Um, Honor perfect attendance from 2019 and 2021.
I don't disagree with you 100% there, Adam. I think I'm with you on the points championship. Now, it's all relative, right? So I've had to field this question about 4 times since 1 o'clock this afternoon from people calling, whether it be staff or drivers, and where do we end up? So right now we don't know. I mean, in Quebec, at least they know August 31st, earliest they could go, and they could start making a plan for September 1st and beyond. For us, we are still kind of in limbo. So until we get a hard date from the government and some hard regulations, that's going to be a little bit difficult for us to make those plays and to go where we're going to go. Now, if we end up with a month missed in the season, say we don't get going till June 1st, well, I think you maybe still could do the championship. You could still go ahead with it. Um, but if you get, I don't know, only 5 6 weeks in, it's tough to pay out a full points. And you've got point money to go for it. So that's a whole nother discussion. Is just point money. Like you look at us with the 360s Irish weekend, we get 25,000 from Cool Kids. You've got you know 5 grand to win. If we only race 5 times opposed to 19, I don't think you'll see us pay 5 grand to win that championship. So many there's so many different ways you can go with it.
Oh,
We
and
just
there
don't know
there
yet.
again, yeah, there again, you're going to have to sit down with Glenn, the sponsors that we have. I mean, everyone's in the same boat. We're all in this together, and say, hey, what's the best plan moving forward? Racing is going to return. 2020 is going to be a strange year. So, do you want to focus on the things that might be a challenge this year, or might be a negative, or do you just want to have fun, embrace what we can, uh, and put together the most creative and productive plan moving forward as you possibly can? Because the sooner we can get back to normal, the better. You can't start, let's say you start June 1st. Let's say you start July 1st. You can't say, okay, this is the day everything is back exactly the way it used to be. I don't think it's going to work like that, but I think we're going to get there eventually.
You know, um, Man, I don't even want to talk about some of the scenarios we've gone over because there's so many. It can get really crazy out of line. Stephen Petty makes a good point. Says, will the suppliers need time to get everything back? For example, food supplies and souvenirs and everything that the tracks need to run. There it is. Also, the suppliers need time to get concessions, souvenirs, everything needed to be prepared as well. Um, my quick word was I think we could maybe be ready to go with a practice, a test and tune, maybe within a week of everything lifted. Um, you got to remember, some places still have to get some construction done. Like if you're look at Henry at South Buxton or Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, I should say, he's got so much work to do, and this shutdown has basically killed the spring for him and put him even farther behind. So, um, tough to see all that go that way. But I don't know. I think you're gonna need a couple weeks at least to get guys up to speed to get them rolling. I agree that points races are probably off the table for the first month. Maybe you give them a month to get ready and have a points championship. But I would be totally okay with no points championships as well. It's tough rush weekend though because this is our 25th season. This is supposed to be a big celebration year for us, and to not have a champion on the 25th year, or to even have an asterisk champion. I mean, best case scenario, we miss the month of May and get going by June and can put it all back on track. So hopefully that all comes together. Like I said,
and,
Ash,
and I think
we'll be ready to go.
and I think you're going to have to change your approach too. Even the way this conversation has been framed in the last 5 minutes has a lot of negativity, has a lot of what if and maybe doubt. Forget it. We have a racetrack. We have the playground. And when I say we, I mean it's not me, it's you, it's Glenn, it's whoever. Um, you're going to build something. You're going to create something, and people are going to be
Oh,
hungry to come and get it. So I mean, it's
no
all
doubt.
about yeah. Oh, I'm not knocking her. I'm just saying sometimes when we ask these questions, it sounds as though we're looking for the excuse on why something might be what someone expected 4 months ago out of the next year. No, no. Here's what's going to happen. You think when we pull in the driveway and see Glenn Stires, he's not going to have a huge smile on his face? You probably won't, Clinton, because you'll be pulling your hair out because there's going to be a lot of fresh challenges and different things going on. But by and large, the excitement's going to be real. Uh, Everything's going to be awesome. If anybody says, well, hey, I expected a $5,000 points fund, like, kick them in the nuts.
That comes to the next thing. What if crowds are limited to 500 people? That's some of the rumors we've heard. Obviously, nothing's still official. Um, but by that token, I mean, we can make that work at our place. Um, that could put our hurting on some of the smaller tracks, though. Any thoughts on that, Adam? Obviously, it's still pure speculation because we don't know where we're going to end up.
I do, and we have a guest, Clinton, who's probably got thoughts on that as well. Quebec is in a position where the government has already laid down the hammer and says, here's what's going to happen with events that include spectators. Here's what's going to be shut down, and here's how long it's going to be shut down for. So we're joined by Jason Labrosse, who we've been talking to quite a bit the last little while, the owner of Dark Horse Events, and our partner in the upcoming Canadian Sim Racing Series, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But Jason, first, welcome to the show.
Hey, nice to see you guys.
Yeah, good
Good
to
to see
see
you,
you
Jason.
as well. Clinton just brought up the question about there's talk that when events can take place in public, it's possible they will be limited to 500 people to control crowds. Is that something you've started to prepare for, Jason, or is it something you need to be conscious of?
Yeah, we thought about it before they banned the events. They actually, for a short while, talked about 250 people or less in Quebec. Now they're talking about all the events, sport events, festival canceled uh, until they say August 31st, but really it's September. Sometimes I think that they wanted to say August 31st just to make us feel like it was August, but it's really September. Um, but there's also May 4th is an important date for us because they're going to decide what businesses can operate and what businesses can't operate for how long, or like movie theaters and just non-essential businesses. So yes, we're thinking about maybe, are we going to even practices, right? Track rentals. Are we going to be allowed to have participant events as far as even at the track, not only for stock car us, but lapping, drifting, bikes, motorcycles, and all this stuff? Like, are we going to be able to have events? Like, let's say we can't have stock car racing, but guys are allowed to practice. Is it something that, we could have practices once or twice a week, and allow, let's say, 4 people per car to come for practices? And just, I think we're just going to have to be original and think outside the box. It's going to be a special year, like you've been talking about.
So, Jason, we are really excited about the Canadian Sim Racing Series. Registrations are open and they are filling up fast. But
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on this?
I love it. I love it. I've been wanting to do it for a while now. You guys have been in iRacing for a lot longer than I've been. I was focusing on racing at the track, and it's a great opportunity now to do it. I think there's a good hype around it, and race fans want to see racing. They can't have it. Even racers, a lot of racers that are real racers are getting into sim racing now. Um, and one thing I want to say quickly, first, I'm confident that it's going to be a great series, great championship. The list of drivers that we have, I'm excited to announce. Sometimes people think that you just throw an idea out there and it's easy. Uh, it takes a lot of work, and we've been working hard for the almost the past month, but the past few weeks we've been working really hard, all three of us, and it's been I'm excited, and I think it's where it's supposed to be right now, and I think people are going to love the product that we're going to put out there.
Jason, let's talk about the quality of iRacers in Quebec. I mean, we built up a good community here between this show and a lot of our associates and viewers and our iRacing community here in Ontario. But some people might not know how many racers. It's just as popular in Quebec, if not more popular. It has some of the best iRacers in the world. I mean, Alex Bergeron won our Rivals Elite Championship from Quebec. I mean, you got guys like Raphael Lessard, Alex Labay is arguably one of the better iRacers in the world right now in the top 10 to 20. So, talked about that for us a bit, the scene for iRacing in Quebec.
It's been it's popular, but I feel like before the virus, it was a separate world between racers and iRacers. I would say was two things, right? And the what happened with the shutdown of every businesses and people staying at home, I feel like it brought the iRacers and we'll call them the real life racers, because I guess iRacers are real racers too, but the guys that race real cars in real life, it brought them together. So I feel like it's a clash of communities, and I've been seeing in the last few weeks, 2-3 weeks, a lot of real racers convert to iRacing, and yes, it also allows the iRacer to show that, listen, I'm good. I'm good for real, right? Because you can compare them with guys that you've been seeing in real life. Um, so I feel like that's really, really interesting. And yes, there's some guys that I didn't know a month ago that I've seen race against real racers. And yes, there's a strong like niche community, and I feel like it's been growing fast. It went ahead like a good 3 to 5 years in the last month, I would say, even
Yeah.
as far as iRacing. So yeah, I think the Qualiber's very good. Also, because I know of real racers that are participating in this series, and it's not a game, right? For people that don't know sim racing, they feel they can assume that it is a game, but it's called sim racing because it's a simulator. It's like uh, plane pilots and helicopters, they practice on simulators, right? So it's not a game. If it's you practice
Jason,
daytime and you go race nighttime, it's like real life. It's not the same thing.
is it going to hurt your feelings, Jason, when the inaugural champion speaks English as a first language?
No, not at all. I'm
Are you sure? Are you
I'm
sure?
kid I'm
Because
kid No, it won't.
Don't
It
don't let
won't.
him pick on you, Jason. But I mean, a couple things that's how we fight with too. The difference between what do you call them? Because outdoor racing is the term we've been using. Because the iRacers are real racers too. To iterate on a
Yeah.
couple things you said too. You know, I got on my first races this weekend, Adam, and I was thinking, man, there's no way. You know, it can't be this hard. But then you have to think about it. It's a simulation. I couldn't just get in the 747 simulation and fly that plane off the tarmac without crashing it 200 times probably. So you got to get your head around that. It's not a PlayStation or Xbox type video game. It is a realistic simulation, and everything you do has a great controls. But I agree, it has taken off, and your assessment of saying that it's brought more real racers into the simulation, I think Adam is a great point, and we've seen that growth here too. Guys like we talked about to start the show tonight, guys we couldn't pull off the couch or pull them onto the racing wheel. Now we've got them there with us week in and week out.
So, Jason, thanks so much for spending some time with us. I know it's bedtime in the LaBrosse house, so you've got to get the kids to bed. But, folks, watch for more information. If you are English speaking, go to CanadianSimRacingSeries.com. You speak French, go to CanadianSimRacing.com. And you'll see all the information every Sunday night in May. Mostly Xfinity cars, maybe entirely Xfinity cars. We've still got a couple decisions to make there. The racing's going to be fantastic. Let's reel off some of the names that have committed to us: Kevin Lacroix, Alex Labay, Raphael Lessard, Caden Lapsevich, Trayton Lapsevich, Gary Clute, Anthony Simoni, Pete Shepard. We're working on that. And of course, Adam Ross, yours truly. I'm coming for the title, although it's going to be tough.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, have a good night. We'll talk to you soon, Jason.
So Adam, new series kicks underway. Sign up is give those two websites again for us.
Yeah, so most of our viewers are watching in English. CanadianSimRacingSeries.com. That'll give you all the information. That is where you register for the series. And like I said, Clint, I'm really excited. We're expecting Jason White to come on board, Brett Taylor, working on other names that I think people will be familiar with. And what excites me as well, there's going to be names that you've never heard of. And they're going to be out there battling with the best of the names you have heard of. And that's what's fun about it. And like you say, it's humbling at the same time. You were out on the track this week doing a good job, but you're also realizing, okay, there's more to. I know what I want the car to do, just don't necessarily know how to make it do it just yet.
There's the address on the screen there if you need to pick it up in either English or French. Yeah, Adam, I think the biggest thing it showed me is to help me with concentration. I was trying to explain to the wife that this is like meditation and yoga and all that into one, because you can reel off a great one lap, but to put 40 good ones together takes a lot of concentration, a lot of patience. The big thing is just don't overdrive the car. And as you start to get faster and faster and find that thin edge, it's very easy to step on it, so to speak.
You know, I'm gonna give away a piece of advice that Shane Pierce gave to my son Connor really early this winter in sprint car racing. Connor had some speed, and things often went wrong. And Shane put it in an amazing way. He says, when you're new, you're going to make mistakes. Try to limit your mistakes. Try to get yourself down to 5 mistakes a night, then 4 mistakes a night, then 3 mistakes a night. Then all of a sudden, you're going to be racing among the leaders. He said, but it's not about driving fast. Anyone can drive fast. It's about limiting your mistakes, which means focus hard and do what you want to do, like achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah, for me, I've been living with some of the advice I've been giving out to young drivers for a while. Just shut your mouth. You're gonna get in the way. The leaders are gonna run over you. Take your lumps while you're new. So I've crashed and got crashed a bunch this weekend, and you take it, move on, and won't be another month or two before I can start chirping with everybody. Hey, I had a great time racing Sunday in the practice race for the Blacktop Rivals, which was great. Some cool stuff. Let's talk a bit about that quickly, Adam. We've been talking our racing a lot, so let's move on quickly. But
Yeah.
our Tuesday tune-up series is on hold this week. We're hoping to get back to that next week. Sorry, with some more action there. Practice races are still going on at 6 and 8 o'clock. Go to the Oshweekend. No, it's hosted by Roger Craig. It's Oshweekend practice, 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Servers open. This week we're at Eldora, and that'll be tomorrow, which will be Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday we're live on our broadcast for Friday night excitement. So make sure you check that out. And then tomorrow, if you want to get in the Rivalz Blacktop, we're at Auto Club. What time does the server open there, Adam?
7:30 server opens and practice begins at 8. We may set up for an hour of practice. We may set up for an hour and 20 minutes of practice to go along with the way the broadcast schedule was. We're not broadcasting this week. We're revamping things a little bit because we had people working every night of the week, Clinton, and we got to slow down a little bit.
Well, a lot of the
But we'll get,
schedules came to an end, right? The series are
yeah.
point championships are done, so we're just trying to figure out what's the new plan going forward with the situation we're in. What's the best way to service the racers? And I also think more than ever, we've got a growing community that want to get into more of these events. So we want to provide some variety for them. You know what? I have a request, and I know I've been screaming with this for a while. I want to do a fun race. Let's go have like an IndyCar race somewhere. Last night I got into a Roval race with Indy cars at Charlotte and had an absolute blast. That was terrible, but
Oh,
it was
that'd be
fun.
silly.
Lots of
Well,
grip, lots of braking.
I sent you a video that Connor had sent me of a practice rundowns. Might have been qualifying, and you saw names like Ross Chastain. I forget the other familiar names.
I think Landon
Our name was
Castles.
on this. That's right. And I said, "Oh, that's cool, bud. What is it?" He said, "Pro 4 trucks off road at Wild West." So there's so many things to do that would just crack you up. Now that you and me and Greg all have this um, sim, we need to get out there, and we have to do this. We have to do it either tomorrow or Thursday and record it so we can put it on the show Friday. But I think just the three of us in a figure-8 race or something goofy would be hilarious and mic'd up.
All right, I'm down for it. We'll have to get McLean and Caitlin in the ball game to
Yep.
maybe call the races for us, our junior announcers.
You're a changed man.
Why?
Since you got iRacing, it's completely different.
How am I changed?
Just in talking about, hey, I was on last night. Oh, hey, here's how I was racing with. Um, Connor said to me, hey, I was in a race with Clint last night. He wasn't that bad. He did all right. So you're being noticed and you're getting out there and mixing it up with the folks.
That was my saving grace. I think it was late Sunday night, and the boys were out racing, and I think I ran into DJ Christie and Connor and Darren Dryden, and I barnstormed around the hosted races with them for a while, and it was top 10, and then I came out yesterday and absolutely sucked. So, um, racing gods, just when you think you got it down, they slap you back to reality. Sit down, announcer boy. Put the wheel away. NASCAR, Adam, that's the next hot topic we've got going on. So NASCAR has talked about getting back to it. They have a lot bigger issue than we do if they don't race with fans. I mean, their television contracts are obviously more lucrative than ours and will help pay the bills better than ours would, but it's still got to be a major losing proposition to get out there and have those races with no fans. What's your thoughts on NASCAR trying to bring it back?
It's not a losing proposition, but you've got to realize what NASCAR brings to an economy. If you're the state of South Carolina or North Carolina, let's pick on South Carolina because I don't think they have major league sports in South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Every NASCAR race that's held in that state drives that economy, drives tourism. So you can have a race that's going to be for TV only because some of the tracks or NASCAR have contracts and obligations to fulfill, and they don't get paid these big contracts unless they put on a race. So let's just say the tracks can put on a race. There may not be fans in the stands, but they'll fulfill certain obligations and keep certain things rolling. But it does not help the overall economy of these states that really rely on these events and the income moving into the states. Like, look at how big Talladega is to the state of Alabama and how much money must be generated by their 2 cup races alone. And to think that one or both of them may not happen without fans. So one thing is the obligation to put the product out there so people can see it on TV. But there's so many other stories of people that'll be affected negatively if these crowds don't show up, if the crowds just don't come to Alabama or South Carolina because these events are held without fans. So I mean, I want racing to go on, but I think we need to also focus on what everyone needs to thrive and survive.
Um, just going back here from our last talk. Um, I got the statement here from Texas Motor Speedway. Texas Motor Speedway statement regarding Texas Governor Abbott's comments. Following the statement from Eddie Gossage, President and General Manager of Texas Motor Speedway, regarding the comments made by Texas Governor Greg Abbott about NASCAR returning to Texas Motor Speedway. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has given NASCAR the green flag to race. Our sport is eager to get back on track. Texas Motor Speedway will work aggressively with the sanctioning bodies and the TV networks to give American society, as well as the people around the world, a positive distraction during this crisis. A non-spectator event is not perfect because in our sport, the fans come first, but circumstances such as this is a novel answer for return of the sport to now. We are working hard on a date. Our sport is unique because competitors inside the race cars with no body-to-body contact, like most other sports. That is a distinct advantage over the other sports, and why you will likely see auto racing as the first live sport to return to action. We appreciate the governor's support for the return of racing to Texas Motor Speedway very soon. He's been to the race there before and is an admiral leader throughout this crisis. So, not the first track to get going back at it. We will follow how that goes. The big thing that's been coming out at him is they're talking more and more about combining IndyCar races with NASCAR because the service personnel, the safety workers, the infield care folks, you know, the facility workers that support the place, they'll all be in place. So if now makes more sense to have multiple events. They're talking about doing it in an IndyCar race, which if you're a fan and could go to that weekend, I mean, that would drag me out faster than anything. Putting IndyCar together with NASCAR for a big, huge party weekend. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
yeah.
And now we can't go. They're making the best events ever and the fans can't attend it. But as a racer, or so as a race fan, I'm super excited about the prospect of that TV weekend of getting to see, NASCAR's big three with IndyCar. Also, like imagine IndyCar on the Saturday night of one of these NASCAR tracks weekends. It could be a huge boon to the sport. I feel, and one thing that we've been really working on, and one of my keywords for the past 3 to 6 months has been cross pollination. I don't know where the hell that came from, but it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. And you know, to take the IndyCar fan who maybe knows what NASCAR is but isn't an actual fan and give them a taste of that, like Tony from Pinty's tells us, they built a whole brand on putting chicken in people's mouth, giving them a taste of it and showing them how good it is. And I think that's a great way to put what they're doing here. Your thoughts on NASCAR and Indy together?
Oh, I think it would be phenomenal. You know what's disappointing to me is Pocono's fantastic idea of a doubleheader weekend. I mean, there were things happening this year that were unprecedented in the modern era of NASCAR racing. And I think now the sky's the limit. In fact, why not go the other way? Why not have NASCAR at Long Beach when Indy goes there? Why not bring NASCAR to Toronto when Indy goes there? Why double up on what? Like, the potential is huge for these events. Here's an interesting point. It just popped into my mind. Our series, to my knowledge, uh, well, no, it's not. There's other touring series, but the big three series all run races with breaks or pit stops. Our series is run, the NASCAR Pinty series has run premium events at Toronto, Edmonton, Montreal without having to make pit stops. That's the kind of event that needs to be organized because even the pit crews have to be socially isolated, right? There's distancing among them as well. So the ideal race would be like a World of Outlaw sprint car race where there is no contact. There's no need to come into the pits where 10 people at a time converge on one spot.
Yeah, it
Be more
also comes down
exciting
to
to
the
me.
numbers. If you can limit the number of pit crew and hangers on, I mean, that could be something that these local tracks end up going to where they don't have much of a choice if it comes down that way. But no, I'm excited at the prospect of it to get some real racing back. Nothing against the iRacing we've been watching, but to see some real racing is going to be amazing. I think it could be a big opportunity for racing, as they mentioned, to be one of the first major league sports to get back on the air and back in action. It could really help their prospect to get things going and draw a lot of new eyeballs and new fans potentially, and people who may be giving up on NASCAR to come back because it's what is happening on the air that weekend. Speaking of that, switching gears, so racing is going on in the Dakotas. There are some sprint car racing going on, and if I understand correctly, it's the one state that didn't actually shut down in the states through all of this, so they're still proceeding. They are limiting. They've taken some creative ways, and Adam, to what you said, the promoters, we're gonna have to get creative. Nothing's off the table, I think, is the biggest message from how the fans are dealt with to how racing is administered and managed. But let's talk about that. So what they've had to do is they've limited it to 700 people in the pit area, I believe it was, and only a certain number of fans out front. I think they kept that to 1,000 fans. You could only buy your tickets online at a limited amount, and they're proceeding ahead. So it's kind of a let's say a hybrid of social distancing, but not a full shutdown. Um, a lot of eyes will be watching how that goes off this weekend.
Yeah, they will be. They will be, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's not my place to comment. Um, I can tell you this: if it was happening uh, within
Okay, so
50 miles of where I am, I wouldn't go.
let me just stop you there. Okay, so I understand your point. I understand your feelings as your friend on this. So maybe I don't want to get in this argument with you, but it might be a good dual
It's
old
a, no,
fashioned duel. Everybody's arguing. No, my question for you
go
is,
go ahead. I won't be offended.
um, okay, so are we believing the government enough? And I don't want this to be political. That when they just say it's okay, so 2 weeks from now they're gonna say it's okay, and then that's gonna make it okay for you to go back to a track. I mean, at what point does the fear diminish to the point that you feel it's good? So you say if that was happening this weekend, you wouldn't go if it was
Here's
in 50 miles. So do you go in a month? Do you go in 2 months? When does that
well,
feeling subside?
maybe this will help. I don't worry about going someplace and getting sick. The reason I would not go to a race this weekend is because I don't want to get sick. It's dangerous. No, the reason is I don't want to touch sick and bring it to my home or bring it to my place of work. Um, I have two parents living in long term care. So I'm hopeful that this doesn't touch them. So our family has been touched by COVID-19. Scott Mackey, who was the flagman at Delaware Speedway, lost his father this weekend to COVID-19. So it's very real, Clinton. And I'm not concerned for my health. I'm just concerned I don't want to be part of the problem that perpetuates this virus longer than it needs to go on. And I understand people are going stir crazy. I understand people's desire uh, to get back
No,
to what their normal is, but I don't want to. My conscience would not do well thinking, okay, I just went to an event for pure satisfaction, and it might have set us back.
no, I get that. What I'm saying is, so in a month, you think that's going to be different?
I do, but I believe in what we're being told. I believe the need to flatten the curve. I believe the need to get over the peak of uh, people being diagnosed with COVID-19 and people dying of COVID-19. I believe that because our hospitals are still open, our hospitals are still working, and I respect the hell out of anyone if they believe otherwise. That's fine, but I believe in what we're being told and why these things need to happen. And my understanding of why we need to stay away from each other is because if we did nothing, and the healthcare system collapses, uh, it'd be pretty brutal.
See, we need a political show because I got so much more to say, but I'll just let it go because it's totally not racing related. So moving on.
No, I like I say, dude, I get it. I understand. I'm just telling you from my side. I choose to believe, right? That's the funny
That's
thing
fair.
about believing something.
That's fair
And if
too.
someone chooses not to, um, that's fine because that's your choice. And you see that Like you see protests that are happening in Michigan and New York, and the protests are going to happen everywhere, right? Because people have to express themselves and believe what they believe and do what they
Well,
think is best.
we're humans. We want to eat, man. People want to get back to work.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's the lesser of two evils. Do you want to be sick or do you want to die of hunger? You know, so and people would rather take their chances with the virus and say maybe it's not me, but at least I'm getting paid today. So, you know, I'm with you. I respect everybody's right to think what they want, but let's get off this. It's too heavy for this show. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
but hey, man, we could have a political talk, but I don't think we'd be friends anymore because we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. I tend to side
Buddy,
more
you
with our
think,
buddy Cody.
well, the thing is, do you think we agree normally?
No, we don't. I'm a
We both
vampire.
love
You're an early bird. That's the
that.
way it goes. I'm
That's
going to
like
bed
we're
when
like
you're getting up
ebony and
every
I
day.
yeah, we're like ebony and ivory, only we both look the same.
Nice.
It was
Any
a great
questions or
duet.
comments you guys want us to talk about? Feel free to throw them up right now. Spencer, is there anything was Spencer, throw that Burger Barn video of the week up that we had. The one I sent you, the guy getting ready. So some teams are prepping, Adam. I don't know if you saw this video I sent over, but you know, some guys do it on the high end. Some guys just have to get it done. And you know, I saw Gary Leach, our engine builder, here, and they must be cringing at this. But for those of you who don't know what's going on, that's a cylinder block that's being prepped to put the heads back on, and that's you know supposed to be precision machine down to you know a finite degree, and Buddy's just grinding away. And so the
I
comments
think
were
that's
great. Just you know
I
a
think
couple
that's
more
red
cranks on the
green.
head bolts. Yeah, red green.
Yeah.
Throw some duct tape on there for some gaskets, and away you go. But you know it sounds crazy, but I do believe I've hand sanded a block back in the day just to get it back for the weekend.
Yep.
Get going. You know,
Wow. Look at that.
that's awesome.
Don't wipe it down, don't do nothing. Just slather
Hey, all
slather
that
on the bathroom caulking.
you know, all the filings are like they're binding
Oh, they're sitting
agents,
on the
so
pistons. They'll be okay.
to help keep it together. You know, a little bit of commentary like that, a little bit of comedy is always good. Yeah, it's a Makita Mill job, says John Fletcher. Love it. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Keep us coming. We love to
Hey,
keep talking away.
I want to talk yeah, no I don't. I was
Yeah, we
going to
got
talk
10 minutes.
about
Let's go.
iRacing. Since John
Uh,
Fletcher's here, we've got to. So we're going to run the Canadian Sim Racing Series is going to run fixed setups, but we're not going to run the iRacing fixed setups because they're pretty horrible. Um, we're going to develop setups, and everyone will have the 1 week before the event to be able to practice, and that's how we're going to build that. But it should be a lot of fun. Okay, wait a second. I just got a note from Connor Ross, just like the video last week. Knoxville Raceway qualifying. Kevin Lovey's had fast time. Chris Heil was fourth. Connor was fifth. Frank Caprera was in the top 10. Mike Mahaney's in the top 10. Joe Trenka, Bill Van Imogen, Mike Mahaney, I said that. CD Coville, Larry White, Dave
you did
Axton.
a terrible job setting it up. Nobody knows what you're talking about. You're just throwing random names
Doesn't
out
matter. I'm
there.
just reading it. They're in an iRacing server. Like I said earlier, I get videos from Connor. Hey, look at the results from this. Look at that. So he's in a server with Knoxville from a bunch of names that have all competed at Oshwegan Speedway. So it's good fun.
Um, Anything else you guys want us to talk about? We'll throw it up there now. We got a minute or two left, and then we'll dip on out of here. Thanks everybody for watching our show. We may be back at 8. We may be back at 9, depending on when the broadcast schedule gets sorted out for where we're going to go forward on Tuesdays with the Right Choice
I've
Auto Tuesday tune-up session.
I've got a question for you from our viewer from GeForce TV, Clinton. Actually, I've got
Sure.
a comment and a question, and Roger makes a good point, saying Six Nations might not open when Ontario starts to open. Not saying this to be scary, but have you heard anything about what the plans are on Six Nations about loosening the restrictions of people visiting Clinton?
Not at this point. So right now, they're still on lockdown. Six Nations, which is the community that Ashwegan is on. If you're not familiar, They're on lockdown right now. You have to live in the community or be an essential worker to get in right now. Now, we are hoping that when Ontario lifts, they'll feel the same and ready to go. It's funny you mentioned it because I was talking with one of the staff members today, and um, I think being a small community that is so tight knit, we have to be conscious of their wishes too. And I mean, to be a good neighbor, you have to realize every race team except for maybe 5 of them are from outside of the community. So that's a lot of people coming into that community to do anything. It's unlike like Merrittville or Ransomville, for example, where a lot of people live in that part of the community. We don't have that. Most of the racers come from half an hour or more away. Some of them come from multiple hours. In fact, a great number of them come at least an hour and a half to 2. So I think we kind of need a bit of support from the community too. It's touch and go. It's a great question. I don't have an answer for that just yet, but we haven't been forced to find out where we're going with that. I am still fairly hopeful, as is Glenn and those in charge also, that um, they'll be in line with Ontario when we do go. That's the best answer I can give you right now.
Yep. But it's one of the things that's on the list of information we're going to have to provide to people wanting to come to us weekend, and all promoters are going to have to provide. There's a laundry list of things that people are going to have to know. You think there were signs outside of racetracks before telling you what's acceptable and what's not. I'm sure there'll probably be another item or two on that list when things open up and we get to spend some time together.
Well, how crazy it is that 2 of our suppliers, VP Fuels being one of them, is today sending out flyers for hand sanitizer for racetracks. I mean, we never would have thought that our fuel and oil suppliers would be supplying us with hand sanitizer because it's an essential piece of the tools we're going to need now to go back to the racetrack. So that, among other things, I mean, the other thing we've talked about on multiple occasions, what do we do for our food service? Do you still kick that right off and have everybody making food? Do you go to a vendor style system for this year till things simmer down? There's so many challenges at the racers, but I think you know, for guys like us who've been around a long time and we criticize some of the other places for being stagnant, I think every single promoter is going to have to be up on the box this year and making sure they're doing the right things and looking around at what others are doing. I mean, I'm already reading everything I can read about every other racetrack to figure out, hey, what ideas do they have to make things work? What can we do? And how can we work together to produce it? I mean, here's another topic, Adam. Okay, um, going late into the season. So we've talked about this past. We typically don't go on each other's race nights, right? So, for example, autumn colors on the pavement side has always been like Thanksgiving weekend, and Brighton Applefest has always been right after Rush weekend. So, what happens? And then you got Frosttoberfest. If the tracks get a late start and they want to keep going, the impediment from keeping going has always been your sister track's relationship in their big event that you didn't want to step on. Is this the year when all bets are off and we all have gentlemen's agreements to just have regular racing every time we can till we can't do it anymore? Or do we
Uh,
still give those weekends off to the big races like you said earlier? Um, it's a tough deal.
Yeah, we'll see what shakes down. I mean, the main thing is, the good news is we're still here. Glenn Stiers is still working the racetrack, looking forward to when it can open. Right? No, nobody has run away. Nobody has run off. We know times are tough for a lot of people, and we're pulling for you. And I owe an apology. I'm going to send out a note tomorrow to Joel Lillicrop, and we were going to get him on, and there's been a few things come up that have gotten us quite busy. Um, so I wasn't able to get on with him and talk about the auction tonight, but we are definitely going to do that in coming weeks. Remember, briansfarm.com, they are open for business. We encourage you, when you've got a couple of minutes, go and check out what it is they have to sell. They've altered the way the auction is running. It's sort of a buy now, sale price items that makes their logistics much easier and much more hands off. So be sure to check them out. And we'll be talking to Joel Lillicrop here very soon to talk about their business and what they're doing in these times to adjust.
Yeah, so as you see our sponsors flash across the bottom of the screen as we wrap up today's program, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of the racing businesses that get behind and are marketing partners and support the races are essential businesses. So if you know they're open out there, um, do yourself a favor, do the racing sponsors a favor, share their businesses, share their services. One of the big messages is, we need to shop in our own communities now and help lift each other up, and that's a great way to do it. And that's a big role racing can do is get more than ever. We've always looked for large corporate sponsors and national brands, but now's the time to pick up our local guys, Joe's Garage and the bakery down the street more than
Yeah,
we ever have, and push them through and make sure your friends and followers know who they should be supporting and getting behind each and every week with the products out there. So don't be shy. I don't think anybody's looking down on you at this point in time. In fact, you're probably going to be a hero if you can give somebody a deal right now and set them on the right path to some hassle-free business.
absolutely. And don't forget, folks, every Thursday night at 7 o'clock, Adam Out There, Facebook.com/Adam Out There. I host the Mindwell session. They've been going very well. Um, this is a time when people need to stick together and take comfort in each other, especially if you're someone who deals with mental health challenges. So we're there for you. Feel free to join me on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. You can always check out my personal page. I always link them from there, but I'd love to see you.
No, it's been great, Adam. I mean, it's one of the broadcasts I look forward to every week is getting on the Mindwell session and just hearing people talk. And you know me, I'm a cold asshole. I don't want to hear anybody's bullshit, but I love it. I love it. I do. I feel like I open up there. There hasn't been a week yet when I haven't walked away feeling a bit better than I did when I came in. So give it a shot if you
It's
haven't already. It's been great.
it's liberating. It's and you know what, Clinton? It is so. I'm not going to lie. It is challenging. It is scary to sit here. When I do this, I can look at you on the screen, or I can look at what we're talking about. That it just makes you so vulnerable. But what counteracts that is there's so much compassion. There's so many people hanging out and talking about their challenges and offering advice and offering their just their support. It's really really neat. I've been really glad that you've joined me on that journey and kind of for one thing stay in the background to make sure everything's working right, but for another thing sent me messages before, after, and sometimes during to say, hey, keep it up, you're doing good, try this, try that. It's been awesome.
No, man, glad to help out. So everybody, take care of your family, take care of your friends, take care of our sponsors and businesses, and let's get this train rolling again down the right track. Um, Spencer, how are you doing, buddy? Our producer, talk to me. Are you okay, buddy? All right. He's yeah, doing good. We always forget
That's
about
as much as
Spencer.
Spencer says.
We put him through
That's
hell. We
awesome.
don't give him any information. We just expect him to be there when we need him, and he always is. So Spencer, thank you, brother. You've been a huge part of what we do, and I hope you know how much we rely on you, and I know you do. We'd be screwed without you, but get back to work now that you're okay. We don't care anymore. No,
Yeah.
thanks everybody for
Keep
hanging out
making
with
us
us.
look and sound better than we are.
Yeah, I better be drawing like Fu Manchu mustaches on us. There'd be nothing we could do about it. Well, you kind of already got one. All right, moving on. Thanks everybody for being with us. It's a great hour when we get on here and talk racing. The show's yours as always. We need to hear your questions and comments. Send us messages through the week. Let us know what you want to talk about here on Rivals Race Chat. And for Adam Ross, I'm Clinton Geoffrey saying see you later. Thanks, Adam. We'll see you Thursday.